When my stepmother broke her hip, I delayed calling 911. She moaned, "Please, I can't feel my leg." I said, "Maybe you'll feel what you did to my mom." The nurse found her phone recording the whole thing. I grew up in Lancaster, Pennsylvania. My mom, Joanne, was the definition of steady. Not flashy, not loud. She cooked dinner every night, paid bills on time, and still managed to make my school lunches until high school. She stayed with my dad through all his job hopping and weird moods. She was loyal. To a fault, maybe. The shift started when I was in middle school. My dad began working late, more than usual. He claimed it was because the agency was expanding and needed him more. I believed it. My mom probably did too, at first. But then the credit card statements started coming in with weird charges. Fancy restaurants out in York, a hotel bill, even a flower shop I'd never seen him use before. Then came Kathy. He introduced her to me like she was just some woman from the office. But I knew. I could tell from the way he talked when she was around. He straightened up, acted like some teenage boy trying to impress a girl. She was maybe 30 at the time. Blonde, tanned, wearing those too tight jeans and a laugh that never reached her eyes. I hated her on sight. My mom found out the full truth a few months later. She came into my room one night, pale and shaking, holding his phone. She didn't even cry. She just handed it to me and walked out. The messages were sick. Not just cheating, but mocking her, laughing about how gullible she was. One message said, "She thinks I'm working late, LOL. My dad left 2 weeks later.
No epalegi. No explanation.
Kathy moved into our house less than 6 months later. My mom couldn't afford the mortgage on her own. She tried, but her hours got cut at the dental office. Eventually, she had to sell the house at a loss. We went from a 3-bedroom colonial to a tiny room above an old couple's garage. She started getting panic attacks. I remember once finding her in the grocery store, crouched next to the canned tomatoes, hands shaking, eyes wide. She kept saying she couldn't breathe. That's what Kathy did to her. They got married the following year. Kathy wore a dress my mom once looked at online. I know because she showed it to me before they separated. The worst part? Kathy played the cool stepmom card hard. She tried to buy me with expensive gifts. Sent me a Gucci bag one Christmas. I never opened it. Just left it in the box in the back of my closet like it was something rotten. Fast forward 10 years. I'm 33 now, living in Philly, managing rental properties. My mom passed away 3 years ago. Stroke. Sudden. She was 49. The doctor said it was just bad genetics, but I know stress killed her. Kathy killed her. At the funeral, Kathy wore white. She gave this little speech at the church, talking about how Joanne had such a quiet strength. Like she hadn't spent the last decade gutting her from the inside out. I stopped speaking to my dad after that. We hadn't talked in years when the call came in. It was a medical alert system. Kathy had taken a bad fall down the stairs. My number was still listed as the secondary emergency contact for some reason. I shouldn't have gone, but I did. When I got there, she was lying at the bottom of the stairs, her leg twisted at a weird angle. She looked up at me like she didn't recognize me. Her voice was hoarse. "Please, I can't feel my leg." I just stood there. All I could think about was my mom, sitting on the floor of that grocery store, shaking, crying, too ashamed to ask anyone for help. I crouched down so we were eye to eye. I said, "Maybe now you'll feel what you did to my mom." She looked stunned. She tried to reach for me, but couldn't. I waited there for a while, long enough to make a point. Then I called 911. 2 days later, I got a call from a nurse at the hospital. She said Kathy had her phone in her sweatpants pocket. Apparently, it had started recording during the fall. My voice, what I said, was clear. The delay in calling for help was obvious. "She's not pressing charges," the nurse said. "But I thought you should know. Someone else might hear it." And just like that, the whole thing changed. That file was out there. It existed. My words. Her pain. The choice I made. It was recorded forever. After the nurse's call, I couldn't stop thinking about that audio file. For a few days, nothing happened. I figured Kathy was probably too humiliated to do anything. Maybe she'd just pretend it didn't exist, same way she used to pretend she wasn't the reason my mom cried herself to sleep every night. But then my dad showed up at my apartment. I hadn't seen him in over 5 years. I didn't even recognize his car parked outside my building. He looked older, tired, grayer, like life had caught up with him. Still, when I opened the door, he didn't say hi. Didn't say, "How have you been?" He just said, "What the hell did you do?" I didn't let him inside. We talked in the hallway. "I saved her life," I said.
She could have died, he snapped.
"And my mom did." That shut him up. For a second. But then he got into it, said Kathy had told him everything. That she was traumatized, that she'd cried through her entire hospital stay. That the nurses treated her different after hearing the recording. "I should have changed that emergency contact years ago," he muttered. I could feel my blood boiling. "You left it because you knew no one else would come. That's what I've been to you, right? A safety net. Not a daughter. Not since the day you brought that woman into our house." He threatened to press charges. I told him to go ahead. For weeks, I waited for something, anything, to happen. A call from a lawyer. A knock at the door. But nothing came. Then I got a call from my boss. Someone had emailed the property management office anonymously. Attached to it was the recording. No context, just the file. My boss didn't fire me, but HR opened an investigation. They said it raised ethical concerns. Now I had a choice: explain everything or stay silent. I told the truth.
The whole story.
They said they'd take it into account. Meanwhile, word got around. A couple of tenants recognized my voice. One woman, a tenant in her 60s, cornered me and said, "You let her suffer. What kind of person does that?" I wanted to ask her if she'd ever watched someone rip apart her mother's dignity and still pretend to be a loving wife. But I didn't. I just walked away. Then, just when things were starting to settle down again, Kathy went public. She posted on Facebook some long, weepy post about how she almost died alone and how cold cruelty lives in some people's hearts. She didn't name me directly, but it was obvious who she was talking about. Then she added, "The truth will come out. I have the audio." That was the day my aunt, my mom's sister, called me. She asked me straight up, "Did you do it?" I said yes.
She didn't yell.
Didn't cry. She just said, "Good." I hope she felt every second of it. But not everyone felt the same. My cousin unfriended me. One of my high school friends messaged me and said, "This isn't the person I remember." And maybe it wasn't. Maybe I crossed a line. But the thing is, I don't regret what I did. I regret getting caught. I regret not deleting that phone. I regret not knowing she was recording before I said what I said. But I don't regret the truth. Because Kathy deserved to know what it's like to be helpless. To feel pain and not be rescued right away. To be seen in that moment the way my mom was, humiliated, afraid, and alone. Now the fallout is building. 3 weeks after Kathy's Facebook post went semi-viral in our town's little social circle, I got a letter. Not an email. A letter. Certified mail. Return address: a law firm in Harrisburg. Inside was a formal notice. Kathy was suing me. Not criminal charges. Civil. Intentional infliction of emotional distress. And defamation. Attached was a transcript of the audio. Every word I said, every second I waited before calling 911. It was all there, typed out in clean black ink, like it was just a cold, calculated script. Her lawyer claimed she had suffered lasting trauma, was now afraid to live in her own home, and required ongoing psychological treatment. That part almost made me laugh. But then I saw the part that said they were also seeking damages for employment disruption and public humiliation. Turns out Kathy worked part-time for a local real estate agency. After her post, someone anonymously forwarded the audio to her boss.
She was let go the next week.
So now she was spinning the story. I was a violent, vindictive stepdaughter who abandoned a helpless woman. She was the misunderstood, injured victim. My lawyer, because yes, I had to hire one, told me something I didn't expect. The case had teeth. You gave a statement, he said. On tape. And you delayed aid. A judge might look at that seriously.
Especially in a small town.
I started getting calls from family members I hadn't talked to in years. Some supportive, some asking if I'd lost my mind. One of Kathy's nieces messaged me a Bible quote about forgiveness. Then my dad did the most surprising thing of all. He came to my work again. But this time he was different. He looked empty. Like all the fire had burned out. I didn't know about the recording, he said. I never wanted this. I didn't say anything. He took a breath. But I listened to it. And I heard your voice. I heard how calm you were. And I heard what you said. And I realized I never asked you what that woman did to you. Or to your mom. He sat down on the bench outside my building. You hate her.
I know that now.
But if this goes to court, she'll use everything. She'll try to destroy you. That night, my lawyer called again. Kathy's team was proposing a settlement. If I apologized in writing, if I agreed to let her post a statement saying she forgave me publicly, and if I paid a small damages fee, they'd drop the lawsuit. It was bait. A power play. She wanted to humiliate me publicly. But I wasn't ready to fold. I did something I hadn't done since my mom died. I dug through her old files. I found her journals. Notebooks full of entries, written in quiet handwriting, filled with fear, shame, grief. Page after page of what she went through. One entry broke me. I think I'm disappearing. Kathy tells me I was never enough for him. That's what she said. He only stayed out of pity. I can't sleep anymore. That line changed everything. Because now I had something real. Not just pain. Not just vengeance.
Proof.
I scanned every page. I gave them to my lawyer. And I waited. Because if Kathy wanted a war, she was about to get one. We didn't settle. I told my lawyer I wanted to go to court. If Kathy wanted to drag my name through the mud, then she'd have to do it in front of a judge, with the truth staring her in the face. The trial started 2 months later in a small courtroom in Lancaster County. The place where I used to watch high school plays was now where my life would either be burned down or reclaimed. Kathy showed up in a wheelchair. No cast, no brace, just drama. She wore dark sunglasses, like she was shielding herself from the world. My dad sat behind her. He wouldn't look at me. Her lawyer painted the picture, a poor, aging woman abandoned by her stepdaughter, who nearly died while begging for help. He called it premeditated cruelty. He called me vindictive and dangerous. Then my lawyer stood up and calmly handed the judge the journals. He started reading from them. Page after page of my mother's words filled the courtroom.
Her handwriting.
Her truth. Her loneliness. The insults Kathy whispered when no one was around. The way she laughed when my mom cried. The threats. The humiliation. One entry talked about Kathy spitting in her coffee. Another described a night when she locked herself in the bathroom and whispered into her hands, "I don't want to live like this anymore." The judge went quiet. The jury was still. Then came the recording. They played it in full. My voice. Her groans. The silence before the 911 call. It filled the room like a ghost. When it ended, no one spoke for a moment. Then I testified. I didn't cry. I didn't apologize. I told the truth. I said, I delayed because I wanted her to feel what my mother felt every day for 10 years, helpless and invisible. I regret nothing but trusting that she deserved kindness. The verdict came in 2 days later. Not liable. The jury sided with me. But that wasn't the end. Kathy had opened the door to a courtroom. And now it was my turn. We filed a wrongful death claim on behalf of my mother's estate. Emotional abuse, mental anguish, contributing to medical decline. My lawyer called it death by slow cruelty. And with the journals, the recording, and witness statements from old neighbors and coworkers who had seen Kathy belittle and isolate my mother, the case had weight.
My dad tried to stop it.
He offered a payout. I refused. It dragged on for 6 months. In the end, we settled out of court quietly. The amount isn't what mattered. What mattered is that it became part of the public record. Kathy's name was now permanently attached to my mother's suffering. Her reputation collapsed. The real estate company she used to work for posted a statement distancing themselves from her. She moved out of town a month later. And the best part? I gave copies of my mom's journals to every local women's shelter and legal aid clinic in the area. Her words, her pain, became part of something bigger. Something that could help others. As for my dad, he tried to reach out again. Said he wanted to make amends. I told him I'd already buried one parent. I didn't need to bury another. I live a quiet life now. No drama. No family calls. Just peace. People ask me if I'm proud of what I did. I'm not proud.
I'm satisfied.
Because sometimes justice doesn't come in a courtroom or a clean ending. Sometimes it comes when the person who ruined your family has to live with their name ruined too. And that's exactly what Kathy got.